Hello, welcome back to Toy Thursday with Johnny Tiger on January 14, 2021. If you have been a collector of action figures as long as I have been, or if you have been a follower of comic books or cartoons or superhero-based movies, you would have noticed that in the last 30, 40 years, there have been a lot of changes in the way superheroes, supervillains, these characters, how their costumes were portrayed and depicted. There seemed to be a small kind of an evolution going on. And as you guys know, that I am always kind of interested in evolutionary points of view when it comes to how things changed, why they changed the way they did. So it is with that in mind, today I'm going to walk you guys through a very quick, very brief example of evolution. And we're going to look at the evolution of superhero uh, costumes throughout the ages. Well, throughout the ages make it sound a lot more complicated. And in fact, it is kind of complicated, but we are going to just take a very simple and direct look today because I promised myself that I'm going to try to tone down how many figures we show in each episode so we don't overwhelm people with like showing 6 or 10 figures in one go. So try to keep the number down, which means we have to keep things relatively simple. Now, luckily, if we want to keep it simple, it is uh, not that difficult as well. This guy you're seeing in front of the camera needs no introduction. We have seen him on the show before, if some of you remember. But even if you missed the episode, you know who this guy is. This is Batman, who has been one of the longest running, most recognizable superheroes for the past 70 years. Isn't that crazy? Like 70, 80 years, this guy has been kicking around and he's still immensely popular today. This costume you're looking at is the most basic. This is like the most basic Batman. This was made by Mattel in, I believe, the early 2000s for the Fist of Clay 2-pack figure set. He supposedly came with a Clayface, one of the arch enemies of Batman. Unfortunately, I acquired this guy on eBay, and I never did get the Clayface figure that's supposed to go with him. I was just looking for a generic Batman to fill the rank of my superheroes at the time, so I just got this guy. I didn't spend time to look for the villain he was supposed to come with, a fact that I really regret to this day. So anyway, we are not going to go into too much details about Batman because you guys know who he is and you guys know what he's about. And honestly, there's just too much to say about Batman and too little time. But like I said, this is his most generic costume. If you look at him, he's got his cape, he got his bat ear mask, got his utility belt, and his spiked gloves. But beyond that, it's a very smooth, very muscular, very smooth, uh, uh, muscled body encased in this latex or spandex material. And this was how most superhero costumes and supervillain costumes were drawn prior to 1990s. Now, of course, when I say most, because there's always going to be exceptions. So what I'm going to tell you guys today is not like it's not going to apply to every single character. People who know their comic books, know their superheroes, going to be able to sit back and say, "No, I know so and so. They are not depicted that way, so your theory is wrong." Well, yeah, like I said, it's not an overall uh, uh, it's written in stone thing, but it's general enough. It's accurate enough to reflect what we're talking about here, which is the evolution of costumed characters. Like I said, Batman here is very muscular and basically looks he's a guy who dressed funny and running around in like skin tight lycra or spandex. There's not a lot of details going on other than his cape and his utility belt. Now, I don't know how many of you have tried this, but if you're wearing skin tight clothes and something that's shiny and smooth or like kind of a lycra material, wearing a utility belt is very uncomfortable. I tried it before. Don't ask me why I tried it, but no, I tried it before, and it's just not very comfortable. Beyond that, costumes like these, while recognizable and very iconic, don't really make a lot of sense. If you are fighting crime all day long, would you really want to be wearing something skin tight and very hot and sweaty, and every time you bend over, you have to watch that if you're some part of you might be a little bit saggy and not very manly looking. Yeah, no, I mean there's a reason why costumes were drawn like this in the early days. First is because in the old days, superhero costumes were inspired by what wrestlers and circus performers wore at the time. That's what influences skin-tight lycra suits, uh, shorts or underwear on the outside, and cape and fancy mask look. I mean, if you want to be a guy that's really hard to recognize, then you definitely wouldn't want to dress like that and run around the city. Another reason why superheroes and supervillains were often depicted this way prior to the 90s was that the technology of drawing and animation and the kind of technology for movie sets were relatively simple back then. And a generic muscular body covered in lycra was a lot easier to draw and to animate than something that's covered in a lot of detail. And when you think about it, even a guy who's in jeans and t-shirt would be a lot harder to animate than a guy who's in skin-tight clothes. Because with jeans and t-shirt, you can always make sure, well, if this guy bending over this way, the jeans have to bunch up this way, and if they raise their arm, the t-shirt have to bunch up this way. The wrinkles and lines have to match. There's a lot of those little details that just really hard to replicate in those old days. Fast forward, now that we're in year 2021, in the last 10, 15 years, so after year 2000, 2005, we have seen a jump in what is possible for superhero fashion. Costumes no longer look like skin tight clothing. Heroes don't even need to look muscular anymore. Nowadays, heroes are depicted wearing everyday clothes, or at least clothes that can be seen every day. You can wear it, I can wear it. We don't need to have the Batman physique. Just look at Daredevil over here. This is an action figure by ToyBiz in the early 2000s and depicting Daredevil from the first Daredevil movie. And basically, if you look at that, if you look at how this guy is dressed, he's basically a man in a devil mask, and red leather outfit. It's like a red biker leather, right? You can wear it and look just as good. I can wear it and look just as good. It's like there's nothing to it. It's something that you can go to a motorcycle shop and put together yourself. This is what's passing for superhero fashion nowadays. A drastic departure from how they looked prior to 1990, where every hero had to have muscles coming out of their ears and have to own a lot of different suits of lycra in their closet. No, nowadays superheroes look like Daredevil, like that, a guy who doesn't look all that muscular, doesn't look all that impressive, wearing red leather outfit, or as this lady here, that is Rogue from the X-Men movie. And again, nothing fancy, nothing impressive. It's just a skinny female wearing a trench coat, a scarf. I'm going to open this up, making her look like a flasher. Jeans underneath, blouse, and undershirt. Like, again, this is an outfit that you can put together yourself at home. And you can go on and on. If you pull out how superheroes are depicted in movies in the 2010, 2015, you can find a lot of examples of how costumes today don't even look like costumes. They look like your everyday outfit. Uh, if you ever have time, take a look at Luke Cage, for example. If you find the Luke, and I know Luke Cage is quite popular nowadays, and he's just like a super muscular guy walking around in jeans and t-shirt most of the time. Now I know some of you are saying, well, you kind of skipped 10 or so years there when you jumped from prior to the 90s directly to after 2005. And yeah, I do that on purpose because the last figure I'm going to show you uh, is the main star of the show today, and he represents a period of time when superhero costumes really, really went crazy. The period in the 90s, and that continues all the way up to early 2000s. Prior to the 90s, superhero looked like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. Guys wearing very little, basically just lycra skin-tight suit. And suddenly, in the 90s, a slew of new heroes come onto the scene, and these heroes are dressed more or less like this guy. Whoa, who is that? I'm sure, unless you are a comic book buff, unless you're really, really, really geeky like me, you wouldn't recognize this guy, even though he's very distinguished looking, with his metal armor and that big M shape on his face mask and a V on his body armor. It's definitely a look that is going to be sticking in your head if you've seen him before. This guy is a lesser known hero or government operative by the name of Maverick. Uh, his real name is David Nord, and he's also known as Agent Zero. David Nord started out his life as a German nationalist who did his time fighting for independence against communism, and then he was drafted by the Weapon X program to be a super soldier, and this is how he is depicted under the code name Maverick. Just look at the design. This is so 90s. In the 90s, you see big armor, a lot of pouches and straps and bullets and weapons and big guns like the one in his hand, and then big, fancy, futuristic looking backpack and cables and electric equipment. That is Maverick. The time is now 9. And the majority of heroes that were depicted in the 90s, big guns, a lot of straps, a lot of body armor. So basically, superheroes in the 90s went from looking like weird circus performers running around in lycra latex clothes to the futuristic paramilitary warriors. I mean, you look at this guy, he doesn't need muscles. Okay, this doesn't have to be a man or a woman. It doesn't have to be a fat or skinny person. It's just a person, anyone, wearing this, walking around. You know you don't want to mess with them. Just like high-tech, futuristic, cybernetic stuff. Look at that. He has cables running into the back of his head. Are those connected to his brain? We don't know that. He also has a respirator attached to his helmet. Just so much detail on this guy. Now, why do I make him the star of the show? Because I love characters like this from the 90s. I love characters that dress actually like they mean business. Characters that dress like it makes sense. Like if I was out there fighting crime all day long, I would want something like this to help me do my work. And also, Maverick here illustrates a point I made a couple of weeks ago when I talked about how do I determine what action figure I like or don't like. Honestly, prior to doing this review, I had no idea who Maverick was. I got this guy uh, as one of the figures. Oop, he's falling over. I got this guy as one of the figures uh, for my birthday. Prior to that, I never seen this character before and didn't know anything about him. But as soon as I take him out of the box, I'm like, whoa, that guy is cool. Like, I don't need to know his background. I don't need to know who he is. I don't need to know if he's good guy or bad guy. Just take a look at all the armor and futuristic details he's sporting. I'm like, okay, this guy is cool. I don't care who he is. So he's definitely one of those characters that just uh, captivates my attention by design alone. He doesn't look like Batman or Superman or Spider-Man or Captain America. He just looks like a very capable, very dangerous warrior in a full body suit of futuristic looking armor, and he's carrying some big guns. So, quick recap. Prior to the 90s, we have Batman, skin-tight clothing, cape, weird-looking mask. In another word, the kind of costume that unless you are really, really confident in your physique, you will never want to be caught dead wearing. After year 2005, we have Rogue here, trench coat, jeans, blouse, undershirt. In other words, things that you would actually wear to work. And in the 90s, we have guys like Maverick, body armor, electric cables, straps, pouches, big guns, a lot of bullets. In other words, kind of outfit that you would want to wear if you were in the superhero business. Like I said, there are always going to be exceptions, and I'm sure you can think of a lot of other characters that didn't fit in the time frame I set for you guys here. But for me, it is very interesting how simple things such as superhero costumes evolve as our society, our view, our belief evolve. Prior to the 90s, superheroes had to be really nice. They were It's okay to beat up bad guys, but they weren't allowed to kill anybody. They weren't allowed to go into war and stuff like that. They had to be kid friendly, so they had to be easy to remember, easy to draw. Their designs were simple. Into the 90s, suddenly people want more um, action, more violence, because the people that used to like those simple superheroes now grow up and they need more adult content. So superheroes evolve to keep up with the now more adult audience. And the superheroes start to carry guns. It is okay to shoot bad guys now. It is okay for bad guys to shoot back. So you have to wear bigger armor to protect yourself. And then, after year 2000, suddenly people are saying, well, now we have to be politically correct. You can't just have big and strong, good-looking people be superheroes. How about people that don't look like much? How about people who just look like regular Joe? Those people need some action too. So, after 2000, just to satisfy politically correct crowd and to make everybody happy, now superheroes have evolved to look like everyday, average-looking people in average-looking clothes. Thank you for checking out today's Toy Thursday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Fitness Friday. For now, have a good night.